What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com. My name is Sean Sheehan and I am back with the top 5 bets for the week in the world of mixed martial arts. And there's two main events this weekend that I want to talk about here today. The PFL Europe finale, which is going down in my home country here of Ireland, which I will be travelling up to here in the next couple of days. So I'm looking forward to that as always. And the UFC card over in, I believe it's the UFC Apex. It is indeed, with Yadong against Chris Gutierrez in the main event. A fight which is actually like a pretty good fight. We'll talk about that later on, but it just, I don't know. It's one of those ones you hear it, Yadong versus Chris Gutierrez, like, that's the main event. Is like, it's, I don't know, I'm not against either of those two lads. As I said, I like both of them, and I think it's a good fight, but yeah, just, it doesn't shout main event to me, and I think to probably a lot of people. But anyway, we will get to that in course. Last week, let's have a look back at that before we get to next week. Again, a kind of a 50-50 week. We've been having a few of them recently, which is not too bad. I gave you Drakkar close to win, and he did with, I think, spoiler maybe for another show, but I think that's knockout of the year. I think it was absolutely fantastic. I was really mad with my kind of Turner and Green picked them to go to a decision, and I remember, if you remember last week, I said I thought Turner would win, but you know, the short notice and the 5 rounds for Green and all, I thought that might kind of turn it, you know, slightly in Green's favour. But no, absolutely, Turner showed his class, and he is a really good fighter. And sometimes you forget, like Sean Brady, another one of my bets from last week, sometimes people forget how good he actually is, and he got in there with the win at at minus 118 too, so 2 good wins there. And then Rob Font lost as well. Very disappointing showing from Rob Font. I think it's a great fight for Figueiredo to kind of get back. I don't actually think Figueiredo was as good as he can be as well. So a great win for him, and hopefully it gives him the confidence to get back to his best. So 2-2 on those. And then the flyer didn't hit, which was Dariush inside the distance, which absolutely didn't hit. That was the farthest thing from hitting possible. But we go again, and we go to this week, and we look ahead to the 2 big cards. The overall record as we stand is 86 of 171. 86 of 173. I can't add. I probably should go through all of these, because there's definitely a mistake there somewhere. But that's about right. 86 of 173. Which is, you know, gone on for 50%, and then we've hit 13 flyers overall out of 43, which is, you know, not a major percentage, but they are flyers a lot of the time. Although this week, not as big a flyer as normal, because with these cards, especially like the European cards, but also like a lot of the Apex cards I'm finding now recently, the odds, and I've said this before, but the odds are coming out so late, it's absolutely ridiculous. There's no time for, say, people like me who I'd love to record on a Monday and have the week for people to watch this show, but the odds just don't come out, and that's all we can do with it, I suppose. But that's what we have, and that's what we will go with. So I'm going to start with my PFL bets. I have 3 bets from PFL, and then I have 2 bets from the UFC. So the first bet of the week I'm going for is, honestly, and if you look at the PFL card, this might be the closest fight on the night, or the one that maybe a lot of, especially the crew here in Ireland, would be talking about being close. But I'm going for Andreas Binder to win at plus 140 in his fight with Daniele Scatizzi. And I watched, obviously I did the preview for this, a couple of previews for this card, and I watched, obviously I've seen a lot of Scatizzi and Binder as well, but watched a bit back over him. And do you know what? It's one of those fights, I think both guys are good, solid fighters. Like Scatizzi is 19 fights deep into his career now. You know, he's had some losses, he's had some wins. He's beaten David Gallon, which I thought was a really good win. He's been in there with the likes of Jaral Al-Shalawi, who, you know, we've seen obviously in the PFL before as well. The likes of Alfie Davis, who's a very good fighter. Even Marvin Vittori back in 2015. So this is a guy who's been in there with a lot of good fighters, has the experience, and we know what he's about. You know, he's a good striker. He can wrestle offensively, defensively. He can do it all. He's a good, solid fighter with a 12-7 record, and I think kind of that shows what type of fighter he is. He'll win most of the time and he'll lose some of the time. But I'm in no way criticizing him or anything. He's a good, solid fighter, right? Andreas Binder on the other side of it, he's 27 years of age, 8-1, and he's also a good, solid fighter, but he is one maybe more at the start of his career than Scatizzi. Although, he's been a pro now for, 4 years is it? Coming up to actually over 4 years now. He started his fight off with his career off with a no contest. But, before that, I suppose people might know, or maybe people do know, he's the only man to ever beat Ian Garry. He beat him as an amateur, close split decision. If Ian Garry's listening to this, leave me alone, Ian. But it was definitely a good competitive close fight. But that's in the past anyway. I don't think a lot of people are talking about that these days. But what he has shown in his pro career is he is a hard hitter. He will take chances. He will go to promotions where they'll give him, tough enough matchups like he fought Rastam Akman, the same as Ian Garry fought, a former UFC guy, fought G. Anderson Castro, who's a good fighter. He's fought Aidan Lee in his last fight, fought Chris Stringer. Good solid tests in, places that I'm sure aren't paying a load of money and aren't, the normal, I suppose, route to the UFC, route to PFL, route to wherever you might want to go to, but he has shown that he can get wins. He's shown that he's willing to fight for the opportunity, and he's done a great job of it over the last couple of years. I think he's gained the respect of a lot of people on the Irish MMA scene and everything like that. So I think you've put them skill for skill. Not similar in terms of fighters or anything like that. Binder probably a little bit of a harder puncher, a kind of a longer guy. He's down now at lightweight from welterweight, if I'm not mistaken. For this one, I think he went down maybe a couple of fights ago. But he's down anyway for this one. But he's a big guy, 6 foot tall against Scatizzi, 5'10". Not too much of a difference in it, but still, that will work, I think, in his favour. But the reason I'm giving it is not that. It's not, it's not a technical reason. It's not a tactical reason or anything like that. The reason I'm giving it, well, first of all, I like the price at plus 140. And second of all, I just think this is, we have these graph fights in MMA all the time, right? And sometimes only one guy's on a side of the graph. Sometimes one guy's going up and one guy's going down. I don't think that's necessarily the case here. I do think one guy's gone up in terms of Binder, but for Scatizzi, he's probably just about in his prime now. He probably has another few years in his prime. Who are you picking in that fight? That's kind of my question here. Are you going to pick the up-and-comer, the guy who is getting his first real big opportunity, or the guy who, who's had opportunities down through the years? And I don't know if I've been thinking this over the last few days, but I don't know if it's true or not. Maybe people in the comment section can let me know, but it feels like this might be a little bit of a step down for Scatizzi. And he fought in Bellator a good few times. As I said, I mentioned some of his wins he's had. When you beat the likes of David Galan, you're probably talking about being close to the rankings or going that way anyway. And now he's on the undercard in PFL Europe. Which there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But when you're talking about going towards the Bellator title, and then you're on the undercard in the PFL Europe, that's, if you ask me, after he'd beaten David Galan, and he was 3-1 in his last 3 fights, if he was to go to PFL, where would he be? I would think maybe he'd be going to the PFL and being in the tournament, in the main PFL tournament. Now, maybe this is just a fight to keep active, and maybe that's where he will be if he wins. But at the same time, I'm not sure that's the case. I don't think PFL, and credit to them for this is not a criticism or anything, I don't think they're necessarily giving guarantees to that. Oh, you're definitely going to be in the tournament next year, unless you're, whoever you might be, unless you're a big signing or whatever. Right? So I think it's a massive fight for Scatizzi, but it's almost like a bigger fight for Binder because Scatizzi's had to start the fight before. This is Binder's first massive opportunity, and what he looks to me is like a guy who's ready to take it, And it doesn't matter if it would have been Scatizzi or whoever it might have been. If he'd gotten a chance in the UFC, if he'd gotten a chance in Bellator, in Cage Warriors, or whoever it might be, to have a big fight, I feel like he's just about ready. Now, the other side of it, some people get the jitters, some people get the nerves. His first fight in the Tree Arena, in the big arena like this, it's a lot different, from fighting in LFL or fighting in Clan Wars or whatever it might be. It's a massive opportunity for him, but I'm picking him to rise to the occasion. I'm going for the plus 140 in what I think will actually be a pretty good fight. And I think I think that power might be the difference in a close decision, possibly. So plus 140, Andreeas Binder is the first pick of this week. Honestly, we'll get to the rest of the bets in PFL in a second, but there's a lot of fights that I'm really unsure of on this card. I've talked about it, and I'll do a PFL Europe review at the end of the year, but this PFL Europe lineup has been really good, like really, really, really good. And I hope people realize that they've put together something. And I wouldn't say it like if they hadn't, I'd just ignore it or whatever. But they've put together something that's fantastic. Like the level of fighters they have gotten that maybe are unknown to a lot of people. But I've watched all these guys, watched tape on all of them for the last 8 or 9 months or whatever it is. And there's some real talent here. And I think none more so in the next fight I'm going for, in a division that maybe we didn't think there would be, but it's the light heavyweight division, and I'm going for Simeon Powell, and he's minus 163 as I look at it here. Let me just get an update now, just in case it's moved or anything, but yeah, I believe that is the correct price, minus 163. Powell is just such a good fighter. Like, he's a really, really, really good fighter. And at minus 163, I think you rarely get fighters that good at that price, if I'm being honest. These divisions in PFL Europe, I said it on the preview, and if you haven't seen the previous show, please check that out. But I don't think they were necessarily built around the fighters, apart from Powell, to a certain degree, but definitely to the Sheva, which we'll talk about shortly. But it did feel a little bit like it was built around Powell. Like the other divisions, the lightweight divisions, the bantamweight divisions, not very much just put really good fighters in there. It's harder to do with the women's divisions, harder to do with the light heavyweight divisions, but they've managed to get themselves a fight here, which is really, really, really good. So much so that I think the price of Powell is probably a little bit is deflated the right word there? Yeah. Like, this should probably maybe minus 300 instead of minus 163. His opponent, Jakob, is a very good fighter. He's aggressive. He throws big shots. He rushes you into a clinch. Just throws knees inside his big takedowns. He's aggressive on the floor. Very good jab, and he kind of takes his time. And if you look at his record at 7-1, he's only 27 years of age. He doesn't really have the big names on his record, apart from Anthony Salamone, who's a good fighter and has been around for a good few years, and that's a good solid win last time out. But look, I suppose either does Simeon Powell, but he's only 24. 9 fights into his career. This is the first massive big matchup for either of these guys, and it's really exciting to see. If you don't know Powell, he is a real talent, like a massive prospect. He'd remind you of an Ian Gary maybe coming through. Great outside, very good pressure, long reach, good footwork, good takedown defense. But I say it every time I do a preview about Simeon Powell. He's good takedown defense, but how good a takedown defense can you actually be when everyone's trying to wrestle you? He's such a good striker that every time he fights someone, they're trying to pull him to the ground to take him down. So it's tested all the time. One part of his game I've noticed he struggles with a little bit is body locks, but that's the sort of thing you can kind of shore up, and I'm sure he will have it shored up here. But look, he's brilliant. Kicks to the body so well. Really good cardio after those takedowns and those clinch battles. And he's such a confident man. He's just a brilliant, brilliant fighter altogether. But green at the same time. He's a guy who needs to improve. He's 9-0. He probably needs to get to, like, say 15-0 before he's taking on maybe the big boys in PFL. So maybe you could see him for another year at this level before he moves on, which would do him the world of good, I think. The reason I'm going for him is basically everything I said there. Like, I think Nedoh, if he is to beat him, he's going to have to do two things, and both of them are putting it on him. He's going to have to put it on him with strikes, and he's going to have to put it on him with wrestling. And the other side of it as well is I think he's going to have a real good gas tank. Because I mentioned with Powell, if he gets taken down, he gets up, he still has a good gas tank. Gets taken down, gets up, he still has a good gas tank. He's one of these guys who can keep going for a very long time. If you're his opponent, you probably want to test that and keep it going and keep taking out him while preserving yourself. And I think maybe Nedoh has showed that in the past, and that's probably why his price is a little bit lower maybe than it should be. But I think Powell has what it takes to deal with that. I really do. Like, this is a massive fight for him, because if he can pass this test, there's really, the sky's the limit with him. I truly believe that, but I think he can do it. I think he probably will get taken down in this fight, but I think he'll get back up. I think he'll stop a takedown. The tide will turn. He'll start to get the pressure, and he'll probably land a big shot. And I truly believe in Simeon Powell, and I'm picking him to win here at -163. The next bet is not the best price in the world here, but I think this is a lock win. Maybe you want to throw this one into your accumulators, your parlays, and things like that. And it's I'm going for Nathan Kelly, the main event Nathan Kelly, to win, and he's -450 against Dimitri Solomais. On the previous show, I spoke about there not being that much tape on Dimitri, and I spoke to Nathan Kelly about it as well, and he said the same. Someone actually sent me a video of him, and it was literally, I think maybe only a minute or two of him, and that's the most I've seen so far. And I think it's enough, honestly, to pick Nathan Kelly. And there was another video of him out there as well, and I'd watched it, so I'm not going at this completely blind altogether, but in both clips, he kind of gets taken down after he shows kind of this 1-2 show and go type of striking, if you get me. If you show him your chin, he'll go for it, But Nathan Kelly, if anyone has watched Nathan Kelly over the last while, the improvements he has made have been absolutely huge. His striking is coming on all the time. In his last fight, he was in a bit of a back and forth, which will definitely help. And his ground game is phenomenal. The youngest ever Irish BJJ black belt. You saw him in his fight a couple of fights ago with Zachary Hicks, where he just took him down, didn't get touched for the whole fight, and submitted him at the halfway point of round 1. This guy is a real top fighter, one of the most improved fighters in Ireland over the last couple of years. And by the small bit I've seen of Solomais, I think if Nathan Kelly goes in there with the mindset of, I'm going to take this guy down, I'm going to submit him, I think he probably will, and I think he'll probably be in the first round. You look at Solomais' record as well, 3 losses, 2 of them were by submission. In one in the first round, one in the second round. And it's not like 100 years ago he got submitted in 2021, and he lost his last fight as well in October, funnily enough. So, I think everyone probably thought this is a bit of an odd main event and an odd matchup maybe, but we'll see how it goes at that stage. Anyway, I really like Nathan Kelly here, and at +450, I think that's a real good bet. All right, I will recap the rest of the PFL after I give you my last 2 bets. These are from the UFC. The first one, I'm going for Khalil Rountree, and his price has moved in and out over the last couple of days since this fight was announced, but it is -240 as we speak. It's, as I said, it's moved around. It's opened up at -250. Then it was kind of in around them. I think I saw it at -180 somewhere. It's not shown here on Best Fight Odds, but it did move in closer. It's kind of if you look at the graph on Best Fight Odds, it's absolutely all over the place, and that tells you all you need to know, I suppose, about the betting of this over the last while. But Khalil Rountree's fighting Anthony Smith on short notice, and it's one of those fights where this is the time for Khalil Rountree. He needs to get in there. He needs to take out Anthony Smith, and he needs to go on. He needs to move to the next level. And I think he can do it. I really think he can do it. I like Khalil Rountree. I've always liked Khalil Rountree. Again, he's one of those guys. And I think, in the main event, Yadong is not necessarily unlike this as well. Sometimes he comes out there and he looks the best in the world, and sometimes he just doesn't. We've seen him in there. He's only 33 years of age still, but look, he's won his last 4. But you come out and you look at some of the names he's lost on, like Marcin Petrino, Ian Cutelaba. He shouldn't be losing to those guys. Like, he lost to Johnny Walker. Okay, anyone can lose to Johnny Walker. He's big, massive, light heavyweight. He can put you out in 2 seconds. Same goes for Tyson Pedro. But like, you beat Modestas Bukauskas, you beat Carl Robertson, you beat Dustin Jacoby, you beat Chris Dawkins. You probably shouldn't be losing to the lads before that. And maybe that's the end of it for him. Maybe he's turned the corner now. Maybe those 4 wins in a row are giving him everything he needs to do. But at the same time, maybe they're not. But you would think he would be fueled by that. Like, I've beaten better guys than I've lost to. Sometimes you see that with fighters. Like Paul Craig, I think, is another example of that. Like Paul Craig, you look at any opponent division, you say Paul Craig has beaten someone better than him, but he's lost to someone worse than him. And that's never a great sign for a fighter. But as I said, maybe he's turned the corner, and I think he has. He's takedown defense is very good. His cardio has improved an awful lot. I think where he can throw all those big shots and land them. And I think with Anthony Smith on short notice as well, I think it's going to be harder for Anthony Smith to be the I'm never going to get finished, tough as hell Anthony Smith. I really do. Like, he's been finished 14 times in his career, okay, but he's not one of these lads you just think is going to go out there and it's going to be easy to finish him or anything like that. But maybe on short notice, as I said, that helps a little bit. I expect this to be Rountree going out and trying to land his shots, and Smith trying to be maybe a more technical fighter on the feet, maybe longer, throw a jab out there and go for a few takedowns. And I just think Rountree will win that matchup. I often underestimate Anthony Smith, I'll be honest. He's one of those guys, I look at him and I think a lot of guys should beat him, and they don't. Like, they don't. And there's guys, I see him going in there with, like, Ryan Spann a couple of times, Jimmy Crute even, Gustafsson back in the day, and they don't beat him like some guys do, obviously, but that'd be the one worry for me. But at the same time, I believe Rountree has turned that corner. I think he's going to land the big shots, and I think he's going to get the win here. The price, not amazing, but I'm going for it anyway. I'm going for Khalil Rountree to win here. Right, the main event then, the flyer of the week. I'm just going for Chris Gutierrez straight up. He's plus 300 straight up to win against Song Yadong. And look, if you're giving me a straight price on both of them, plus 100, I'd probably pick Yadong. But I think Gutierrez has shown in his last few fights that he has it in him to beat some of the best guys. Now, look, he went in there against Pedro Munoz and he lost. He knocked out Frankie Edgar, and he was on a great run before that. The Frankie Edgar knockout, obviously, it's a very, how would you say it? We'd have to explain why that's not as good a win, I suppose, as maybe people would make out. But Gutierrez does two things, I think. He's a good, efficient fighter who can go to a decision and win a decision. He's won plenty of them in his career. 10 decisions, half his fights have gone to a decision. But he can also, like, knock you out. That flying Ian Frankie Edgar, he landed, I think, a spinning back fist. Before that, he's won by TKO leg kicks. He's submitted lads. He's ways, and submitted lad, he's one submission. But he's ways of getting you out of there as well. And when you're picking a flyer, an underdog, that's the sort of thing you like. And also, when you're picking against a guy like Song Yadong, who's 20-7, like Song Yadong to me at 26 years of age, it's funny to think he has 7 losses. He's lost to Corey Sandhagen last time out, and it was Kyler Phillips back in 2021. Before that, there's a draw thrown in there as well. And a lot of them before that were on the regional scene and whatnot before he got to Team Alpha Male. But I do think Song Yadong at times can kind of blow hot and cold. It took him 5 rounds to get Ricky Simon out of there. Marlon Moraes landed a few shots at him before the fight ended like that. He went to a split decision with Casey Kenny 2 years ago. I really like Song Yadong. I really think that he is a guy who could go to the next level, but I'm not sure if he will or is going to the next level. I'm really not sure. And Gutierrez is the type of guy that could catch him. He really good. Now, this is a flyer. As I said, I'd probably pick Song Yadong if this was a straight up bet. But I like the fact that Gutierrez will go for it. I like the fact that he'll say this is an opportunity and he'll try to take it. And Song is going to have to be on form. Like, this is a main event as well, so I'm sure he will be up for it and all that. But unless you are on form, it won't be an easy night. I really think it won't be an easy night. And Gutierrez is the type of guy, as I said, who could take advantage of that. So the flyer of the week, plus 300, Chris Gutierrez. All right, let's look at some of the other bets from the two cards. I'll look at the UFC first. The straight up price, as I said, plus 300. He's plus 275, plus 280 in other places. Minus 350-ish for Song Yadong there in that one. As I said, the props aren't out yet, so we'll have to look at him later in the week. Suma Dajari's the underdog at plus 250 against Alan Nascimento, minus 325. I'd push that in a little bit. I think that should be a little bit closer. We've Smith and Rountree in, as I mentioned. Rountree's actually minus 230 here, I think, on one card, so that's a better price. Anthony Smith plus 190. Jamie Malarkey Hackbrass. I was looking at this one as well, plus 170 for Malarkey. I like that price. Like, Hackbrass is one of those guys as well. When he shows up and he's good, he's very good, but so he doesn't always. He really doesn't always. So I like Malarkey. It's even plus 180 here in one place. Probably go for Malarkey in that one, to be honest. Muniz and Park. Is that light heavyweight? Let me just check. No, it's middleweight. So Park. Yeah, Park is at middleweight. I like both of these guys, to be honest. I like Park. Park is the guy who I think is probably making most out of what he has over Muniz, who it feels like had it all and then was like, wait, no, this is not happening for him. And this is a massive opportunity for him to turn that around, but I don't know. This is probably one I divide. Probably just about pick Park. Killin Song, Kevin Jousset. I like Jousset at that. Minus 160. He was really one I was thinking about. I think that minus 160 is a very good price. And Jousset, I'd be going for that. And then there's another few fights there as well. Stephanie Egger is the underdog against Luana Santos. Tatsu Tiara, definitely have him in a parlay maybe or something at minus 500. It's a bit of a big one for a straight up bet, but I really like him in that fight as well. There's an Octagon card as well this weekend. Just one or two fighters from that. Samuel Bark, really, really, really good fighter, knockout artist. He's minus 163. I like that price on him. Keita is there, one of their biggest stars. He's fighting against Nico Samsundis, and he's a minus 549 favourite, but definitely one to keep an eye on there over in Octagon, who are putting on some good stuff. The famous Ivan Bushinger is on this card as well, who's done a great job since obviously that big McGregor fight a few years ago, and he's won most of his fights there, so he's a minus 110 favourite in his fight over there. So the PFL, and I'll run you through the prices here for some of the big fights. We talked about Binder Scatizzi plus 140, minus 188 for Scatizzi. Dakota Dicheva minus 1408. She is in the betting here, and that's probably just about right. Plus 600 for Scatizzi. But Scatizzi only 3 fights into her career. Everyone in SPG talks about her being a real talent. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes. But look, you'd have to favour Dicheva that one. The toughest fight for me of the night to pick is Franz Malambo against Khurshid Kakarov. Minus 250 for Kakarov, plus 175 for Franz. I think, look, it's right for Kakarov to be favoured after he beat Ali Taleb last time out. Franz's 2 performances haven't been amazing, but he was out for a good long time. Like, will they have knocked the rust off him? Like, I think Franz at his very best absolutely can win this fight and absolutely can beat most people in the world, I think, at the weight class. But it's been a tough time over the last while for Franz, getting fights and everything, but if he's back to his best, I think this could be a rip-roar of a fight. I don't know. I don't know who's going to win that one. I think the prices are just about right there for whoever you pick. Lewis McGrillen-Evans, very interesting matchup between Wesley Maya. Wesley Maya's his record isn't as good as he is as a fighter. Minus 350 for McGrillen-Evans. It's probably just about right as well, but I think that's one of the ones I would avoid. A potential... Like, I don't think you want to bet on a fight at minus 350. That is a potential, banana skin. So I'd avoid that one. Dominic Wooding, then, he's a short notice opponent. Don't know too much about him, but Wooding is minus 549 favoured. We talked about Samis and Kelly. We talked about Nedoh and Powell. Samis is plus 300, minus 450 for Kelly. Nedoh plus 120. Powell minus 163. Another extremely close fight, Kazuba and Mitchell, and the betting shows that as well. Minus 120 for Kazuba, who's the favourite, over the minus 110. John Mitchell. Kazuba's looked fantastic this year. I'd probably give him here, but I'm going against the Irishman, John Mitchell. But John Mitchell has shown great parts of all parts of his game over the last few years, and he'll be in that fight, I'm telling you. But Kazuba's looked very good this year. Tom Breeze has come back here. He's a minus 250 favourite, minus 450 for Brett Johns, and he's come back fight here as well. And then we've Conor Hughes on the card as a big favourite, minus 450 as well. And Dylan Chuk, Yazid Kushan. Chuk is the underdog here, minus 110, minus 120 for his opponent there. I like Chuk's wrestling. I think the way he's been wrestling lately has been very good, and I'd probably pick him to win that one. All right, let's recap the bets before we go. First one, Andreas Binder plus 140, Simeon Powell minus 163, Nathan Kelly minus 450 are my 3 PFL bets. Then Khalil Rountree at minus 420, sorry, minus 240, and the flyer of the week, Chris Gutierrez straight up to beat Yadong at plus 300. All right, everyone, we will leave it there. If you're at the fights the weekend, you see me, say hello. And looking forward to going up to, not really looking forward to going to Dublin, but I'm looking forward to going and seeing the fights. And it should be fun. All right, I'll leave it there, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. Appreciate it. My name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.